Hi, welcome back. Hope you're having a great week so far. Today, in this candid conversation, Poppy Bourg and Shannon McGough of Poppy McGough Design House unpack the evolving Dallas design scene, the challenges of modern publishing, and the importance of integrating architecture and interior design into a city like the Metroplex. They discuss how their unique backgrounds inform their approach, client expectations in a shifting market, and why authenticity and craftsmanship matter more than fleeting trends. And we talk about these concepts a lot, don't we? Authenticity, craftsmanship, expectations, shifting marketplace. It's really important. And we're going to cover it again this week, from the pitfalls of celebrity-driven design magazines to the nuanced demands of Dallas homeowners. And when I say Dallas, it's not just Dallas. The Metroplex, I lived in the Metroplex for 9 years. It's not just Dallas, it's Fort Worth. Two very different cities, part of the same Metroplex, part of the same city, but very different feels. And then everything in between. It's a very cool place. Poppy and Shannon reveal how they balance creativity, technical knowledge, and client relationships to create spaces that are not only beautiful, but built to last. We talk a lot about that too on the show. They explore the impact of regional influences, climate challenges, and the expanding role of interior designers in shaping cohesive, livable homes. We talk about the state of design publications and celebrity influence, client trends, and diversity in the Dallas-Fort Worth architecture, modernism and design inspirations, backgrounds and partnerships, building challenges in Dallas and Texas in general, expanding role of interior designers, photography, styling, and portfolio strategy. A lot goes into that. We talk about this and so much more, and you're going to hear all of it right after this. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you've heard me say this, that the most important word in the design industry is service. Product is important, price is important, selection is important, but stellar service is the premier idea that can make all the difference in the success of a project, any project. How design professionals like you demand great service and your favorite brands in one place with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commission sales professionals. It's really important. It means that their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that with over 60 years of experience in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. Now, you have the Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. Earn 3% in Best Buy gift cards, e-gift cards, or 2.5% in rewards checks for every qualified and delivered sale. In addition to special trade pricing, exclusive offers, access to exclusive special events, and so much more than I could possibly tell you about here. And the cherry on top is access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands and the stellar service, again, from a company that has been serving the industry for over 60 years. Terms and conditions apply to the Pro Rewards program and builder trade incentives. So visit a Pacific Sales expert at a showroom today for full details and to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. And I want to just jump into this. First, I want you to know that I consider Dallas a second home. Because I lived in Dallas for 9 years, 2 tours. I was in radio.
Okay.
So I lived in Dallas. Love Dallas. Dallas, Fort Worth. I guess it depends on where you live. Is it Dallas, Fort Worth, or is it Fort Worth, Dallas?
Dallas, Fort Worth.
So you live in Dallas.
Always comes first, for sure.
So you both live in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My husband's from Fort Worth, and he'll even tell you it's Dallas, Fort Worth. Dallas
Okay.
first.
All right. You know what's really interesting, though? I would say that after Austin and Nashville, I think Dallas is probably one of the premier cities where design and architecture art, food, culture has just absolutely exploded.
Yeah.
Definitely since the pandemic, but even before that, I would say the last 10 years. You've seen a lot change.
Oh yeah, a lot changed. And in the same token, many things stay the same. There's something very proper and long-standing about Dallas behavior and Dallas clients, especially in the residential market, which is what we're in right now. So yes to all of those things. All of those amazing things have come and collided together. But there's some fun things about Dallas that's kind of tried and true and stayed the same over the years.
Yes, yes, I totally get it. But it's interesting because one of the things I noticed when I first moved to Dallas the first time, I think it was 94. I was in radio at the time, and I was working for the Eagle, and Howard Stern had just come to town, and I was working for the Stern Show in LA, and they were having trouble selling it because Dallas, they used to say, we're the buckle of the Bible Belt. They used to say Dallas was very proper, not like Fort Worth proper or Houston proper, because
Yeah.
Houston's older, but Dallas always had that rebellious side to it when it comes to culture, that whole Deep Ellum vibe, right?
Still around. Yeah.
Yeah. But what's interesting is now you get others from across the country, from both coasts, like swarming in. Do you find, I would imagine that most of your business on the residential side is referral, word of mouth,
Yeah.
but do you get newbies to the
We
Metroplex?
we do, and we love when we've got a ton of people coming from California. Um, Sometimes that's getting to open us up to a few different architectural styles because they've got, they're kind of bringing in some of that, which is it's fun. It's fun. They're also coming in with selling their home in California, so sometimes they have a little extra money in their pocketbook to spend, which we
Yeah, they're
love.
excited about the Dallas move. That's always fun.
It's funny because I remember this. It was 1997, and we had an option to buy the house we were renting on Vickery.
Mhm.
It was on a quarter-acre lot right on Vickery between Greenville and Central for $88,000.
Oh, wow.
It's
Wow.
not like that anymore.
No, and
Not like
especially
that
not right
anymore.
now. We're noticing a big shift in the market. There's lots of
Yeah.
inventory in Dallas, lots of places to choose from right now.
So how has that changed? Because you both are experienced in the business. This is not new for you. And I want to talk about the backstory a little bit. But before I get into that, I kind of want to talk about how it's changed. Uh, you know, and everything, there seems to be like this hard line of delineation since the pandemic, right? So how has it changed since 2020, and how has that affected what you do?
I love this one. We can both speak to this one. It's changed the mindset of the consumer, in my opinion, tremendously. Um, and I say this as kindly and respectfully as I can, but clients are privy to entirely too much information. End users know too much. The internet has done us a little dirty in that regard, is that um, people who are happy to pay for the service of design are always the people that are happy to pay for the service of design. But the client that we're dealing with now is the client that is shopping and finding everything on the internet. And I do think some of that peaked up, one just with technology doing what it's doing, but I think everyone had a lot of time to hang out at home around COVID and shop and create websites to be secondary sellers for things like that. So I find the mindset of the clients have changed. They are, if they were telling you, they would say they're being smarter with their money. It definitely changes how we've done business on our side, what we can offer, the quality assurances. I'll also say from a product standpoint, the shipping of things, the quality of things that we are getting here, and the quality of service has changed a bit as well. And I mean, I guess talking about like new construction and discerning homeowners and people who are building homes, their brains are flooded with images thanks to Pinterest. Again, everyone had a nice long vacation at home to sit and think about their dream house and 50 pictures. And you can speak to that doing the volume of the new construction that we do, but it's definitely a different client in a different market.
It's interesting because I have been railing against anti-social media for so long now. And look, I'm a consumer of it as well.
Yeah.
I can doom scroll with the best of them. But here's the problem. The problem is none of it's real. None of it's realistic. And it's troublesome for me because I'm a huge fan of design publications. I always have. I've worked for them, I've worked with them, I've written for them. I love design pubs. I really do because I'm tactile and I love, like you probably do, that turning the page and discovering something new.
That's the biggest difference. It's this tactile. It's like a lost love language, like love letters or something like that. No one handwrites anything anymore. I was talking about that with a client just yesterday, and she said that she had a folder full of magazine images and copies from books to show me. And I wanted to give her a hug. Like, I haven't seen one of those in so long. That's how I used to do it designing hotels. That's what we would present to Ritz-Carltons and Four Seasons. Here's our printed book of imagery. And it was not this massive digital presentation like it is now. It does take some of the personality and the personal effect out of it, I think.
And it's the quantity, so over quality, because they would look through these magazines, here in Dallas, we've got our D Home and our Lux magazine, and these women would come in and there's pages dog-eared, and they just ended up with this vision board that was curated, and it was all quality images, and we were able to see a clear path of what they wanted. We were able to build on that and make this come to life. And now they're coming in with a digital, notebook of 2,000 images, and we're trying to decipher through that, and they just don't know which way to go. So it's definitely changed how we're able to bring it all together.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing too, and it kind of speaks to what you were saying. The publication, Arc Digest, is not about architecture
Mhm.
anymore. It's about celebrity home. And I hate saying that because I'm a huge fan of the brand and what they've done, but it's not the same anymore. And it's not a reliable reflection on design and architecture. It's just not. It's if you want to know what celebrities are doing, but celebrities don't live like the average person. And if you've got three homes, you can go live in one for 5 years while the other one's being just completely done out, right? But that's not a realistic expectation for most people. And then you've got like, and I love talking about magazines like D Home. I love D Home. I think they do a great job. But when you get into like modern luxury and luxe, those are nationally focused. You get just, and they've cut back on the editorial, so you only get a little bit of local flavor, right? Then you find someone like something like Candy's Dirt, of which I'm in love. I just love. Do you love that?
Look away. I love her sometimes, and then other times it's like it's the thing that I can't look away from. I don't know that I would say it's always like my favorite, but I'm like, I still have to read it.
But that's kind of what I'm asking about. Dallas is one of those cities in the country that is highly reflective on other cities in the country, but it also has a very distinct culture, society, and feel. And I'm just curious, what is that now? What are your clients asking for now that maybe they weren't asking for 5 years ago?
I don't know that I think it's something they're asking for now. I do feel like with all of this ability to get online and see all of these different options, they're not really pigeonholed into one look. I'm still seeing a lot of diversity in what they're wanting, whether that comes from where they lived before or the style of the house that they're building, which is one of the things that we love to play off. We build the house and then we will fully furnish and design it. And I'm actually kind of enjoying that right now. I feel like the bulk of our clients are not coming to us wanting this like fad look. I don't think that right now there's a Dallas look. And I kind of love that about Dallas. There's still some Santa Barbara style homes being put up. There's some Mediterranean, there's some modern, there's like this resurgence of some traditional that's coming back that is so nice to see. So I don't know. I think in my opinion, I wouldn't say maybe that it's just one look that they're coming for. Now, I do think reining in that look once we get a hold of them is sometimes the trickier thing to do. It's like squirrel, how about this? I've got 50 ideas for this, and reining that in once we figure out the client. A lot of our job is largely the psychological aspect of it. Part psychiatrist, part marriage counselor, part comedian, part accountant. We do all the things.
We've been blessed as well to do a ton of lake homes, which has been wonderful because when someone has their Dallas home, they're at that every day. They're willing to take some risks on these lake homes. So those vacation homes, and we had a huge influx of those due to 2020. I think people weren't spending their money on, they couldn't go vacation. And so a lot of people went and bought that second home and, made that happen for themselves. And so that
created a little local celebrity fervor within Dallas also. Who's building the lake house? What lake are you building at? Where on the lake is it? That was a fun season to go through. It's calming down a little bit in that regard, but yeah, Dallas always has a fun lake house adventure.
Well, and you talk about influence, right? Like the local influence. And sometimes it's not about seeing what you see every day because you become immune to it, right? It's seeing something different. And I think rather this year was your first year going and visiting modernism in Palm Springs.
It was. We had a great time. So fun.
You got it. Like Dallas has some mid-century modern dappled here and there, but there's nothing that I would consider extraordinary. And it's not an insult. It's just it wasn't a thing. But you go there. How did that affect you? What did you come away with?
I think for me, it was just an appreciation of a different way of doing things, and I think given both Poppy and I's background, we're not the firm that you have to come to us for a certain design. We're both pretty well versed in getting out of one box and jumping into another. It has to do with the builder, the client, the architect, the style of what we're challenged to deal with. So for me, modernism was just an appreciation of that look. I'll tell you, and I think you're spot on, in Dallas, I don't have anyone building a new mid-century modern feel. They're few and further between.
There's a couple dozen in my neighborhood, like the Junio and those, but it's not well known here in Dallas by any means. And I do feel like there was a style in Dallas for a while there. I feel like between 2015 and 2020, I built a lot of homes that if you would have laid them out, they're very similar. And I feel like since 2020 and this influx of people from other cities coming in, it's definitely broadened the scope. So it's good for us to broaden our scope and keep the appreciation of these other architectural styles alive in our hearts so that we're able to open up. Because we've thought, long and hard, because there are design firms that have a very specific look to them. And they're very successful. And so we've debated, is it better for people to come to us for a certain look? But we appreciate too many styles. And so we want to play not just in this one little sandbox. We want to venture out as well. So
I think for modernism, like from an interior and designing standpoint, the thing I brought back with me that was a nice reminder, it was this little nod to, it's like that maximalist, like this maximum amount of putting in the design of every room is all the way done. The art, the accessories, it is not this like pulled back minimalist version of what Dallas, I will say Dallas went through that a little bit. It was less is more, kind of stark, a little meh.
And it high on the square footage, but less on the design.
Less on the detail. So I think that's what I took back with me was kind of the enjoyment. It was a nice reminder all in one place of how much fun that can be when you just push the gas and take it all the way.
I want to get back to that in a second, but I'm curious. Give me your background. How did you two, you both have vastly different experience before you started working together. Where did the connection come from? And how has
we need to give our quick background, but yes,
an architect.
We were introduced by an architect that we had both worked with separately. My background out of college is I designed hotels for 10 years. I worked for Wilson Associates, traveled all over, had my kids. It was wonderful. Really went hard in my 20s. And when I didn't want to travel as much, I got into the residential sector. But it was really important to me to learn how to build the houses, communicate with the builders, and be more than just, the girl that came in with these, curtain and decorative pillow blinders on. My background was much more than that. So the way that I get excited about furniture is you got to let me play in the dirt first, and then go ahead, Poppy. Meeting this one, we were like a match made in heaven.
For me, this was like a second act for me. I stayed home for a dozen years with my children. And then I decided I wanted to get into real estate. So I was in real estate hard, which my true love was doing all of the staging and all of the prep work and that. And then got in with a builder and started exclusively doing this builder who was at the time doing, a good 40 homes a year here in the Park Cities and in Preston Hollow. And kind of having all of those on my back, it's when you're building that much, that quantity, you're not able to do any kind of interiors as far as furnishings, FF&E. So I was always recommending that, other designers for that. And I learned to appreciate how important it is to know everything about the build, getting in with all of these trades, knowing that my framer is as important as my painter, is as important as when you put that last piece of furniture in and you're like, here's the last flower and you're backing up. So those relationships. And then when I wanted to partner with another designer, it was a fellow project manager that we both worked with and this architect that said, you guys should meet because Shannon is just as well, her knowledge is just as deep in that construction sector as it was interior.
We struggle with that in Dallas. We come across a lot of firms that have the knowledge to put together the beautiful furniture package, but when you're going through the process of build, they're not educated in the process. Therefore, they're splitting hairs and becoming enemies with the builder. A lot of our business comes from builders and architects, and I like that. I love a good client word of mouth, but the referral from a builder or an architect is a business referral. It is a very professional. I've worked with them before. I vouch for how they run their business, how they make decisions. And while we always work for the client, most often, it is really important for us to back the builder to understand the process. It helps keep the clients on track. And then selfishly, at the end of the project, it instills a certain level of trust and it builds a relationship that we have with the client before we even get to the furniture part. So they already know we've got solid ground to stand on. We know their house, and it makes the whole design process a lot more seamless. And then we get to be proud of all the pictures and all the things.
You are listening to my conversation with Poppy and Shannon from Poppy McGough Design House, and we will be right back. At the highest level of design, the absolute best specifying designers, architects, landscape designers are all highly focused on the technology and performance of products and materials today. You have to, because the products you specify for your projects have to perform and they have to last. That's one of the reasons why I am so proud to be working with TimberTech. Their focus on the technical renaissance of synthetic decking is literally changing the conversation about innovation and performance. It pulls focus on three priorities homeowners have and expect from the products their designers and architects specify for their luxury projects. 1. Aesthetics must match the overall design and fit visually. 2. Durability and maintenance. I've told you about my board flipping stories from my own wood decks. Clients not only want beauty, but they want ease of use, and they want it to last for decades. 3. Sustainably made. Clients are more conscious of the environment now, and they want the same of their materials. TimberTech hits each one of these elements with a product that not only meets expectations, they exceed them. TimberTech makes a synthetic decking that looks just like wood, color and embossed wood grain for a natural appearance. Their composite decking is technologically superior, as it has been created to last for decades, and it's manufactured with up to 85% recycled material. Their advanced PVC, vintage, and landmark collections have a Class A flame spread rating, making these products an amazing choice for wildfire-prone areas, which unfortunately continues to grow on the risk map. Check the show notes for more information about this and to find the nearest showroom or lumberyard where you can find TimberTech, or you can check them out directly, timbertech.com. I am absolutely thrilled to welcome a new sponsor to the program. First of all, because I love new sponsors to the program, but also because this one is something that each and every one of you has been looking for. Loam AI is a company that has its roots in technology and engineering with a passion for high quality content development. Listen, designers, architects, landscape architects, shelter industry brands, you know that time is the one thing we can't create, right? So how would you like the power of AI in content development programming that allows you to design instead of editing videos, scripting, and writing your content for social media? Loam AI was created by a team of engineers with a passion for creative content development. This is text to video, so you describe it and Loam AI creates it. It's really amazing. You're going to have to check this out. And they make it simple to change content sizes for different social media outlets. How tired are you of trying to resize the content that you create? Or send it out to a freelancer and keep getting the recharges because it has to be put in different sizes. It's a pain, and Loam AI fixes that. It's easy to use, has US-based support if you need it. Let me rephrase. The support is here in the United States if you need it. Stunning images, realistic voices, built-in captions, and it's simple to use. Sign up and try it for free without a credit card at loam-ai.com. I'll say that again, LOME-AI.com. Simple, inexpensive, text to video, harnessing the power of AI to grow your firm beautifully. It's interesting too, and I love that you brought that up, and I love that we're talking about architecture and building in a conversation about design, because it's so important now, and it's important in different ways. Having lived in Dallas and knowing Dallas very, very well, Dallas has active soil.
Mhm.
If you go and talk to someone in Southern California about active soil, they'll say, oh yeah, we have earthquakes. That's not what active soil is. Because Dallas, Fort Worth, the whole Metroplex was like underwater millions of years ago. You dig in that clay, I mean, and it moves. As a designer, yeah, the FF&E and all of your touches and your feel has to, if the house is buckling and shifting and moving and changing, it's going to screw up your work too.
Mhm.
In addition to that, you've had the power issues, the electric grid over the years. You've got climate change that you really have to work on certain things because the sun is more powerful, the heat is greater, the cold is greater. How does that, and kind of your experience with hospitality and hotels, you're designing based on a certain level of durability,
Mhm.
right? Do you feel like even on the residential stuff where you may not design for that level of durability anymore, that you have to take other things into consideration? And if so, how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, I find our clients are far more concerned about their children and their dogs than the sun being warmer and the winters being colder. There's always some moving and shifting. Our builders and architects are wonderfully versed at sharing that information with them, but that's always really important to us. We talk about the clients. You know, there's ways to design homes where it's the most beautiful thing that you've ever seen. And then there's a hybrid where it's one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen, but it's also livable on the inside. I can set expectations for how these things are going to function and behave 3, 5, 10 years from now. I use my verbiage from hotel days. How often are we going to do a soft goods swap out? You know, is it every 5 years? Is it every 10 years? How far do you want this to go? I don't know. Do you have more experience dealing with weather permitting? Basements have been a bigger thing in Dallas as of late. Water shifting, things like that. We're fortunate we don't have to mess too badly with that stuff.
We don't. I mean, we rely on architects and engineers, on the front end, and we're pretty spoiled that we get to deal with some of the best in Dallas with regard to that. I think one of the things is expectations. A lot of times clients will come and meet with us and they're like, okay, I started meeting with you in March. And so when do you think we're going to get this thing started? And when can we start doing certain things? That soil tests, those soil tests. And if they have to do something to that soil, sometimes that can push things months.
Or that snowpocalypse or that spring flood we had. I think that's when our Texas weather comes in to mess with us.
So I feel like we're always setting expectations to let them know, like, this is what we have in control. As soon as we have a permit, which means we've gotten through all these soil tests, then we can start putting a timeline together. And half the time you've got these beautiful, that soil test comes back good and we're able to start. Other times, we're waiting until we get the green light.
And I get that. Totally get that. But I think some of the differences come, like being from Southern California. If you would have told anyone in California that Pacific Palisades would have burned the way that it did, or Altadena would have burned the way that it did, they would have said there's no way. There's just no way, because it's a residential neighborhood. It's never happened before. But the level of density, is density a concern for you as rapidly as North Texas? I'm in Tulsa, and I went to Houston last weekend. I was shocked. From the Oklahoma border through Dallas, it doesn't stop. It's crazy.
I think we're used to that, though. I mean, I grew up in Plano. We watched east to west Plano to McKinney on up grow. So Dallas doesn't ever surprise me. The minute that you think they're out of space, they're quite clearly not. They are here to challenge that every day, it feels like. But constantly growing, you're seeing people go a different direction to Waxahachie and Midlothian and going south in different directions where they've kind of built as far north as people can stand to go and still come back to Dallas. They've tried to make little mini Dallases along the way in areas of Frisco, and it kind of works, but it's not the same. There's something about Dallas. It's not Frisco, Dallas, Fort Worth. It's still Dallas, Fort Worth.
And I think with Dallas, there are other cities that have to go up, and everything's just up, and we've got that sprawl. So we just keep kind of taking over more of
just a little elbow, like scoot over. I need more space. That's what we're doing.
In these areas, it's funny that we say DFW, and each one of these little pockets, they're all unique and they're all fairly different. I have a daughter who's moving here from California, and she hasn't lived here since she was, a teen, when she lived in like the Plano Frisco area. And so she's having having to kind of educate herself on, all the little pockets, even within Dallas. When you're in Dallas proper, it's neighborhood to neighborhood of the personalities of these areas. And then you go outside in the Metroplex, each of these cities has got such a different vibe. So she's feeling a little overwhelmed,
But it's interesting, because if she's from Southern California, if she's from the LA area, she's going to feel right at home, because that's kind of my point and when I talk about, materiality, certain things you have to take into account for, because like you mentioned, floods and the snow events and the heat events are getting more extreme. And that does have an effect on furnishings. Fabrics have gotten, the performative value of fabrics recently has gotten exceptional, but with additional sun effects, with additional air. And that's the other thing that seems to be really important, especially on the residential side. And I'm curious if you run up against this, is it's not just about the design anymore, but lighting plans are so much more important than they ever were. Air quality, water quality, noise quality. I mean, the baffling and the sound, addressing sound issues. Are you finding requests like that? Because you do have a far more educated client than you did before.
I think, to your point, that's part of it. Clients know more, so they can ask more. Personally, on the furnishing side, people are buying what they want. I'm, short of making sure my draperies are not in 100% bright window, or that we cover the windows so that your floors are not getting bleached, or the beautiful silk on the back of that chair isn't going to fade. I've been fortunate enough on my end not to have to be tasked with too much of that.
And on my end, we've seen an uptick in whole house water filtration, whole house air purifiers, also patio screens, we do a lot of the, electric patio screens that come down so that we're, some of these outdoor spaces, we're able to get a little more
inside too, light filtering, heat filtering,
Mhm.
but it doesn't seem to be the forefront focus, not for the pocket that we're dealing with typically.
Do you take on the exteriors as well? There was a day and time when interior designers would stop at all the doors. Do you take it outside?
We charge extra for that. We can.
Do you?
When we're invited,
Yeah.
and we love to sit with these architects
Yeah.
and be a part of that. We like to do that early so that we're not ever coming in and after the fact when it's been permitted and saying, what about this? And so we do love to be a part of that. We don't always get invited.
I think for me, it's important to really understand the exterior, whether I'm selecting it or not. It's a big pet peeve of mine in Dallas, and this does happen frequently, that you see a beautiful house and in your mind you have some expectation of a few different ways it might look on the inside, and then you get on the inside and you're like, oh man, this house is like inside out. It does not match. It's not cohesive. I like to be a part of the exterior in such that I need to make it feel right on the inside, and it needs to flow and have that cohesiveness.
And when we're not invited to those meetings themselves, a lot of times we're just having a touch base with that architect and the homeowner to make sure that we fully understand what's going on the outside so that we can make sure that we're able to do a good service and make sure it's cohesive.
Fair enough. Well, it's just funny because I'm seeing it more and more, and I get it. I understand it, and it makes sense to me. You as designers are being tasked with more and more. I mean, we talk about this all the time on the show, and it's kind of fascinating to me. If you follow any of the lawsuits that are going on right now, one was settled, Gifford v. Shield, which is an intellectual property suit. Then you have the Drew Designs LLC versus Aaron Judge, and that's a contractual suit. And then you have the Kardashian versus Donald Judd, which is I mean, full on bootleg of design. That too is an IP issue, but I mean, you're being tasked with more because clients are more educated, and they'll bring you ideas and they'll say, hey, can I get this? But I don't want to pay $30,000 for it. Maybe you can change. You get the 10% rule, right? Which is not a thing. It's not real. It doesn't exist.
It used to be more like 20% in the hospitality days when things were being made overseas and blatantly copied. It's a tighter margin. Now you got to be careful.
Yeah. And so because of that, you have to do more to educate yourselves on legal matters, contractual matters. And so it kind of made sense, if you think about it, that you'll look for brand extensions and ways to expand what you already do without creating a whole new business.
Mm-hmm. You see a lot of designers do that. Are you kind of meeting like brands? There's a couple designers here that have come out with their own furniture lines, their own fireplace design collections, little things like that, where they're also able to protect their intellectual property.
So funny. I was just laughing because I know exactly who you're talking about. So
yeah. We used to design hotels together. It's my favorite example, and he's done it right.
Yeah, love that. Moving to your portfolio, because I love having these conversations and talking in an ethereal manner about what you do and how you do it. But then there's going and actually looking at it and seeing what you do and how you do it. There is this overwhelming desire still, and I get it, for designers to have their work published in the magazines. The magazines have done a very good job of being honest and open about things like, we don't have the staff we used to have, we don't have the writers we used to have, we don't have the photographers on staff that we used to have. So if you want to get published, you have to come complete. You have to have the story, you have to have the design, you have to do the photography. And by the way, you have to shoot it differently, because if you want the kitchen, they're going to go after the appliance manufacturer, so you're going to have to show the appliances. And so your website, your portfolio, you do a great job, and I have some questions.
Sure.
First one is, do you shoot every project, and how do you style?
I wish we shot every project. And I'll preface, by saying one, we're a product of our age. We're not the youngest, quickest to the pass at social media, and we have not shared anything on our portfolio that's not been done in the last 4 years that we've worked together. So what you see on there is new and fresh within the last 4 to 5 years. We don't shoot every project. Sometimes I really want to say that we should, and I want to, but I'll tell you, there are some clients that just flat out don't want their house photographed. They just don't. And then, occasionally there's another type of client, which is part of why I love doing this job, that almost becomes a friend of sorts. That relationship becomes somewhat intimate, feels a little intrusive. I have a couple projects that are my favorite that I've never photographed just because I know that they don't love the notion, and I decided not to ask for the favor. And they'll call me back 3 years and 5 years and 7 years. And it's a beautiful working relationship I have, but you may never see their house on my website. That is where Poppy and I really appreciate the referral process and the word of mouth. And if you look at us, we typically have our heads down working more than we are fussing over our Instagram stories and things like that. And, that's something we talk about that we probably need to work on a little bit more. The social media game is not, or even our website game is not always the top priority in our office. We are busy, and it's our clients and it's our staff, and it's getting that job done. So no, we don't photograph every job.
However, there are some spectacular projects that I wish we would photograph just for meetings and presentations here in our office, because we really get to touch some amazing properties, and we just don't photograph all of them.
For styling, it really depends on the caliber of the job, the price point, and the contractual amount, because styling, just like publishing some of your work, comes with a hefty price tag. So we've engaged 1 or 2 times to outsource. Typically we do it in-house, and it's part of the accessory package that we're providing the clients. We choose our photographers specifically for the job, for the shots that we want. And usually it's a whole office affair. You'll get all 4, 5, 6 of us in there fussing over accessories and picking the right shots. And most of what you see on our website is in-house styling.
Do you style, so you'll style differently the way that you, and I think it's important, because when you're designing something, you're designing it for your client. You're not necessarily designing it
Right.
general market. It's got to be very specific. But I notice that you take out, or I'm assuming you take out, because I don't see a lot of the personality of the individuals themselves. What's your philosophy on that?
There's a couple projects I have for longtime clients of mine where they do a nice job completing their home. Sometimes you'll walk into a house and it's a house. And I have other clients where I walk in and it feels like home. Like, these are partnerships that we're creating. This is a team event. Poppy and I are never in it to walk around and say, we designed your house. That's all us. That's just us. It's a collaborative effort. Like, we did that. We like the clients to have some ownership in that. Typically for photography, we take out anything that's personal effects. We also try to get those photographs before the clients have lived there for 1.5 years and there's too much personal effect to move out of the way.
Well, I feel that's fair. There are a lot of times we're installing and we're just taking pictures right then. So it's not a lot of their personal
They haven't had a chance.
And a lot of times that has to do with, we know what they have planned, and we've got to know them, where they've got this party coming up. We're trying to get out of their hair as well and make sure that we're able to kind of step back and not be in their way.
It seems like it's also that design house approach. Like, you do a design house, you get your room done, you want to shoot it and get it done before anybody comes and walks through and looks at it and starts moving things around, looking at tags underneath.
That is becoming increasingly harder to do. And that is probably one of, I won't call it a downfall for lack of a better word, but working hand in hand with the builder, these clients want to move in the day that the builder's done. They want us right on top of them. So the sequence of events, working so close with the builders, will sometimes bite us. We know their timeline, we know their process, and there's not a lot of lapse. People want in. They want their furniture out of storage. They want it installed. They want to be sleeping there, especially at the lake house, when that was such a fun and exciting time. And with the housing market, they have to sell what they're in and jump into the next one. So there's always a little bit of a timeline challenge in getting those photos.
I want your philosophy on something. In your shooting, it seems like you go out of your way, and I've been on this kick lately, so it's not you, it's just a thing. To to take out, to edit out, to Photoshop out uh, outlets, switches, the majority of the recessed lighting. And I'll tell you why I'm asking about it. I feel like from the conversations I'm having, it's more important than ever because power distribution, accessibility to power, Wi-Fi, all the things that have the cords that we never want to see, it's becoming more and more important because everything is connected. Do you feel like, especially when recessed lighting and power distribution is taken out, that it removes some of the X factor, the specialty of what you do? Designers design around that. You incorporate it into it, you disappear it, you make it part of the overall design. And I think that's so special. And it seems counterintuitive to me. And you're not the only ones, but it seems counterintuitive to me to design technically for that, only to have it removed from the photography.
And I would say we get these back, and it depends on which photographer shot it. I've never told them to remove any plugs or lights. I think some of these fancy themselves an artist, and they're doing that.
We have in a couple of the last rounds because if it's a whole room shot, suddenly your eye wants to focus on the baffle around the can light and it draws your eye to the ceiling fan when I'm trying to get you to look at the bed and the artwork and things like that. So in some cases, we will elect to move them. If you're at an angle and sometimes we can't control exactly where the light switch is, or it's not, a $1,000 Buster and Punch beautiful switch that I'm trying to photograph. Sometimes what we're photographing in order to keep your eye on the prize, on the furniture, on the things that we're really trying to showcase, those things just kind of become ancillary. And, if you went and spent thousands of dollars on mud-in cans all over the ceiling of your house, you bet your ass I would not be removing those from the photo. But if it's your basic, white baffle, 2,700, 3,000 Kelvin can light that's kind of just hanging in the ceiling, there is something soft about removing some of those from the visual. So it's really not to pretend they're not there. I think everyone knows that they're there. But now you start to talk about what photographs are going to look right in D Magazine and in Lux Home. And you start to look at what you're competing with. And to your point, that is becoming a bit more of the norm. So we can't be the girls that show up, showcasing 6 can lights in an oversized bedroom or my reading lights above the bed. So we won't pop them out as needed. But to your point, Poppy, I think there's certain photographers that's real important to them.
It almost feels like a disadvantage to you, and I'll tell you why. Because lighting plans have become so important. So important. The ability and what you can do as designers with lighting, that to not have it in there, and as far as removing, run-of-the-mill cans, totally get it. But I feel like the educated clients aren't always as educated to those kinds of things as we wish they were. But you mentioned something else, Buster and Punch. So Buster's been, Massimo's been on the show and love what they do. I'm curious though, because of that particular style, because, it came from like motorcycle and automotive culture. I love that look. I love that feel, but it's very industrial. Is that widely accepted with your clientele, or is that niche?
I think it's niche. I think part because of the price and part because of the look. And I don't see in our Dallas market, I see it more in rooms that have a cute bougie little wallpaper and they want the clear backplates. It's not industrial here at all. It's almost a little the opposite. It's definitely on the bougie side of the selection spectrum.
And there are rooms that we're able to make like a little jewel box. Yeah. You've got this beautiful bar, or this beautiful butler, this beautiful powder, and to Shannon's point, especially if you're doing something on the wall and you want your eye to go to that, then and we've put it in many traditional homes and it's worked beautifully. We just don't get to do it everywhere.
It's
That's
almost like a little art, like that's what I said. To me, that's different. It's very intentional. It's very, hey, look at this. And I love that. Lutron, like, okay, hey, look at this, but it's not the same.
Your kitchens, are you doing any singular kitchens anymore, as in kitchen without a scullery, without a butler's pantry, without a wet bar, without a
The
coffee
word of the
bar?
day. Everybody wants one.
I mean, not really, but here in Dallas, I mean, the homes that we're doing in Dallas are quite large, and many of these people, and I don't know if this is everywhere, but they love to entertain. I don't know if it's a Southern thing, but we love to have people over. And a lot of these homes, they want staff to be able to be in this scullery or in this butler's so that, it's just a nice flow.
I think even if you're not getting the full scullery, which to me is kind of a secondary kitchen with appliances, we're doing a whole lot of what I call the glorified pantry. Your pantry now has a sink in it. Maybe it has a small dishwasher drawer. It has a couple of small appliances and it gives the feel. We're doing a lot more of the European pantries where food storage is going behind tall doors and roll-out shelves, and it's not this little icky walk-in closet off of your kitchen. That whole notion has become very popular. So yes, I'm finding anywhere that the plans allow for it, we've got some version of that.
And I feel like it's important enough for people that, there are homes that don't have the room to make this pantry, like what Shannon was just describing. So they will sacrifice their butler pantry to be that, and we'll be putting appliances in the butler's pantry. It becomes a little another functional space where, when I look back 10, 12 years ago, these butlers, we were doing more for them to display china, and they were just a beautiful area. You're going to display your great grandmother's china. And it was just a pass through from the dining to the kitchen. And now it's become another space to actually get some things done. Maybe a small sink, a window, a beverage center, an ice machine. So if they can't put that in the scullery, and they don't have a scullery, this butler is kind of becoming a makeshift.
Well, and I'm curious too, with the hospitality background, if you're finding that when you're working on a master bedroom or a master suite, that you're adding coffee bar, wine bar, beverage center, even in the bathrooms, going with refrigeration or warming at the same time.
Yeah, stackable washer dryers in the closets, or at least plumbing for them early on the build, has become popular as well. We try and educate our clients also. Spend here, not there. If the budget allows for you to go crazy on that stuff, great. If it doesn't, how often are you really going to use that sink and the vanity in your closet? Or, we've had some really large houses that have taken all of those mechanics out of the master suite. I think first and foremost, what I've taken from the hospitality that's transitioned into residential is everyone wants a sitting room within their master. And maybe it's not a separate room, but it's some kind of lounge furniture. It's a mini sofa. It's a pair of lounge chairs. It's, I don't know how often it's used all the time. It just kind of depends on the use case, but that is definitely becoming the master suite effect.
Yeah, and I'm looking through it. Now, by the way, I'm on the portfolio page. I'm going to have some trouble because you don't name your projects.
I know.
I know. Well, you have to remember that going back, us starting the company and joining together, there was probably a good 2 years of that it takes for us to complete projects to get those photographed. So we got, and I think I will probably gear towards that later, but we admittedly,
it felt a little contrived to me also. Clients don't like for you to use their name, and being in Dallas proper, there's some very well-known streets that if we start posting pictures and I tell you what street it's on, then we're kind of in breach of our own contract that says maximum amount of hush on our end. So yeah, I mean, that might be something we change, but it also felt a little funny for us just to start making up make-believe names. Yeah. But it draws the clients in, like, tell me about this. I can tell you where it is. I can tell you why we designed it this way. Yeah, food for thought.
One of the things that I absolutely love.
Maybe we'll change that for you.
Okay, all right. One of the things that I've noticed on a couple of occasions, and I absolutely love it, and it feels to me like it's mandatory, but your bunk rooms.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's
A
a
good
lake.
banquette and a bunk room, and I am set, right? And it seems like you have mastered that.
And we've done a couple dozen that aren't photographed because
yeah.
we've done a lot of lake homes, but those are fun. I mean, there's a lot of stuff where we've got to dive in and it becomes, but bunk rooms
It's like
are
also
just a
like
little joy.
the labor of love and the running joke around our office. Everyone likes to design a bunk room, but when
not
Shannon's
make
like,
it
hey, it's time to install the bunk beds, everyone's like, oh, sorry, busy, can't go, can't make 12 beds. We all come back with broken nails and like bruises on our hands, but it is a lot of fun. And it's been fun to watch too, because at first it was really just this big lake house thing. They had big room, big space to do it. They want to entertain lots of people. And it's been fun in the last couple of years because now we're seeing a little bit of it on the Dallas side. People take that playroom and they're turning it into a partial bunk room. So that's fun. The kids have to love it. We didn't have bunk rooms really. I mean, short of going to camp when I was little, people didn't have bunk rooms in their house, like mattresses on the floor, maybe. I don't know.
There's one I'm looking at in particular where you have the four bunks in the back of the room, and then you have a small scale sitting room adjacent to a window.
The little white table. It was for two
Yeah.
little girls we designed that for. Yeah. Isn't that fun?
It is, and I'm thinking also from the performative nature of what it is. Like, look, let's be honest. You want to keep the kids occupied. You want to keep them contained. You want to keep, but also entertained and not feeling like they're being relegated to only one part of the house. It looks like there's an adjacent bathroom suite to that as well. Just genius. I mean, if you have the space for it and the budget, of course, but it just seems like a remarkable idea. How did that come together?
It's a place where the kids can also kind of, age in place. This particular family had two little girls that were probably like 5 and 6. So we wanted something that, that table is almost more coffee table height. Those little chairs are like the little squishy Pottery Barn ones. So it suits them now at that age, but there's also enough room as they get older. We can put a couple of lounge chairs in there. There's video games. There's a place for them to sit and color, do a puzzle, and that little space can kind of grow with them and mature with them. But, to the flip side of it, these bunk rooms are fairly large. So where we have the space, we've got to find some other things to do. There's a whole other set of bunks on the other side of that table. So it's a big room.
I have a touchy question for you, but it's super important.
Okay.
And you're also in Texas, so it's even more relevant. Are you being asked, and do you get involved in designing the unseen? Safes, gun safes, safe rooms, indoor shooting ranges, the things that people don't necessarily want. There is a whole generation of luxury modern preppers out there that have entire subsystems on their homes that are prepared for this budget. If you've got the budget for it, are you being asked for that? Are you seeing more requests for that sort of thing?
I say yes, we have. I mean, we've done a safe room that was, a hidden room that went down to a 1-room basement. So something as, which was able to house food, and it was air, it had its own ventilation system and things like that, all the way to just a closet that, could be on the first floor that you can't even tell that it's reinforced walls, and that if you shut it from within, you'd be able to kind of lock it. So there's a big range in this type of thing as well. But safes, definitely. We love to be able to hide a safe so that, it's kind of tucked in somewhere that you wouldn't normally know.
That's part of the prepping with the build too. For, the more significant safes, you have to pour your slab accordingly. You have to be able to set it. You can't just leave a safe there. You'd be amazed at what people can steal when they put their minds to it. We've done lots of jewelry, watch safes, concealed, things like that. But it's definitely things we planned for in the beginning, which is also part of our job. We sit down with these clients and we pepper them with so many questions and so many scenarios and so many, how do you live and how can we help you get this house to function so well for you that when you get in, we cover a lot of that stuff. And it's always interesting to hear what they come back with, because yes, sometimes it is the don't tell anyone, but I'm a doomsday prepper kind of thing. Or, I like to keep extras of everything, or whatever, water drums, whatever the thing is. It's not always fancy fancy jewelry and watches in Dallas.
Finding out what's important to them and then trying to make that beautiful so that they don't see it a lot of times.
The storm thing's a big deal around here too. We get a lot of like, you know, we'll have wives where the husband travels a whole lot and she finds that she's home by herself quite a bit. And one of these nasty tornadoes comes ripping through here and she just wants to have that enforced room in her closet to take the kids or where have you. That's kind of hidden. So we come across that. And I anticipate maybe that will start happening more and more as the years go by.
Yeah, and that was kind of my question is there anything, how do you think about that as creatives? You know, sometimes we find ourselves so mono-focused on what's happening right now that we don't really think enough about, well, here's what they're asking for now. What are they going to be asking for in 5 or 10 years from now that maybe we don't quite think about? Do you think about it that way? And are there things that you have kind of like on your drawing board back at the studio where you think, hey, you know, I think these are some things we should think about for the future?
I think some of that's just the brainstorming of coming up with cool ideas. You know, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, you know, would I have guessed that people are putting bunk rooms in their upstairs game room spaces? I probably wouldn't have guessed that. So I a little bit feel like in this crazy world we live in, there is literally no telling what could be on our plates in 10 to 12 years. But I think that's the fun of our job. And then maybe it's not so much prepping for that now. It's the fact that we are quick thinkers and problem solvers. And when those things hit our plate, we are relentless in finding, you know, the answers. And that is the builder, the architect, us. I was with a client the other day and I reminded them, you know, you're going to get the best shake and the best solution having your designer, builder, architect, and the client all at one table. 4 out of 5 people might throw out the wrong answer that might lead one person to the right answer.
Because we love a challenge if we have a great team.
Well, and we will obsess on that challenge when we're presented with it. But I'm not really sitting around thinking of creative what ifs yet. I mean, we all do to some extent, but not terribly, I don't think, if that answers your question.
Well, I love it. No, it kind of does. And I think that that's kind of the best part of it, right? Is that if we knew what our jobs were going to look like in 5 years from now, it would be so boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I'd start doing it now. And like, what's the fun in that? I mean, yeah, that is.
Exactly.
There's like an immediate need with what we do, and it's fun.
Yeah, no, exactly. Listen, Shannon, Poppy, this was great. I really appreciate the time. I had so much fun. I hope you did too. This was great.
Well, thank you. We did. Thanks for the invite. It was
so
wonderful
talking to you.
The Design Hardware Showroom is a space where specifiers can go and find an incredible selection of high-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware, and so much more. Select products are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. You will find everything you're looking for, even the products by brands you didn't know you didn't know. Surprise and delight. Am I right? All under one roof on 3rd Street in Los Angeles, just up the street from the Grove. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find inspiration, collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your specification list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com, at Design Hardware and Flooring on the socials, or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles. Thank you, Poppy. Thank you, Shannon. Loved our chat and truly appreciate the time. Thank you for listening to the show. If you like this episode, and I hope that you did, please share it with a friend or colleague who loves design and architecture as much as you do. Subscribe to Convo by Design wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and continue the conversation on Instagram at Convo by Design with an X. Please keep those emails coming with guest suggestions, show ideas, and locations where you'd like to see the show recorded live. Convo by Design at Outlook.com. Thank you to my partner sponsors, TimberTech, the AZEC Company, Pacific Sales, Best Buy, Loam AI, and Design Hardware. These companies support the shelter industry, so please give them an opportunity on your next project. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, be well, stay focused, and rise above the chaos.